Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds everywhere, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing and another installment of the Council of the Ones Babylon 5 review. And hope you all are having a wonderful and restful, hopefully, Thanksgiving weekend and Black Friday for those of you that do not work retail. Hi, hello. If you do work retail, I feel your pain and I share your struggle. But we are back again this week with another installment, and today we are covering the episode Darkness and the Light. And this afternoon or this evening, depending on what time zone or what part of the world you are listening to us here on the Wing, I have got my fellow council members back from her long expedition to Zahadum, the one and the only. Well, let's say the remains of Zahadum at this point. Fiona Wolf, my good friend Zod Rider and Mountains of Elysium. Lady and gentlemen, good to see you
Oh,
again, and thank you for being here. And Fiona, no bad jokes.
yeah. I survived. I survived Black Friday specials. Yes.
Oh my God.
Because we had a few pre ones yesterday, and so that's why I was comatose on Wednesday and Thursday. Yay.
Well, it's never really fun being comatose unless it's self-induced and willing comatose.
Yeah, and Mr. Garibaldi wasn't willingly comatose inside of his own body. That poor man.
Yeah. So, well, and greetings to everybody in the chat, whether you're lurking or whether you're here live chatting it up. Sherry, my dear, it is good to see you, and thank you for being here today. And, well, we don't stand a bunch of ceremony here, so we're going to jump right into the episode. And I yield the floor to my fellow council members. Where y'all want to begin?
Lots of good stuff to begin with, but I suppose we could start from the very beginning, where Sheridan thinks he's just having a normal conversation.
Yeah, because here we have another example of Earth Force being rather mischievous and using all sorts of holotech to screw with people's heads and using all sorts of illicit substances to also mess with people's heads, particularly Captain John Sheridan. And okay, can I just say, holographic Franklin is creepy as hell.
Why?
Well, it's just when you know it's not Franklin and he puts on that very phony smile, he just looks creepy.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, but also you realize that the actual actor Biggs did a really good job of not playing himself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, we start off with the Sheridan still in custody, still being worked over by I'm going to guess it's Night Watch is the bureau that's in charge of the interrogations and so on. But then, of course, we jump ahead a little bit and we get Mr. Garibaldi being captured by Mars Resistance. And this is a very sticky wicket that he has gotten himself into. And even Franklin's like, I don't know if I can get you out of this, dude, and I don't know if I necessarily want to, considering what you've done to our friend John Sheridan. So,
Yep. And sadness is the fact that only Lita really believes him, because Lita knows how nasty Bester can be. Ooh, and boy. But then she has to say to him, they don't really take my word too much for it. I guess they'll have to be shown by everyone's favorite telepath.
It was interesting, the difference between the holographic Franklin and the real Franklin. The real Franklin was willing to give someone he wanted to see dead a chance to defend himself. And I thought that just showed just what a great contrast in characters they had.
Yeah. they do a great job of playing weird versions of themselves, like later on, where Future Earth tries to. Oh wait, Garibaldi AI figures it out. Hey, they've tried this before for
Yeah.
propaganda purposes.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. We get that very visceral and very powerful reaction when Ivanova finds out that about what Garibaldi did, and the only sucky part about that is we never find out how she feels in the aftermath, because unfortunately in the same episode where Mr. Garibaldi kind of gets his reputation cleared, Commander Ivanova, well, she gets put into a very serious. Well, she gets severely injured when they go and take on those advanced Earth Force destroyers that have been enhanced with shadow tech. Brought to you by the wonderful Clark regime. Clark regime, stripping away your freedoms and creating hideous and frightening and powerful ships since 2260. Well, 2260. So,
Oh, it does make me wonder if Clark had managed to hang on, would the Drock have done the same thing to Earth with that darn virus?
we don't know. That's something we'll have to cross. We'll cross that bridge when we come to Crusade, and we'll discuss it then. So, but honestly, Drake, not funny. Good grief. But it that whole situation at Garibaldi presents a very interesting um, dynamic in the fact that here we've got a guy that a fictional character that we also wanted to see, well, shot for what he had done to Sheridan, but then we find out that it's not even necessarily his fault. But it still begs the question.
Why didn't
Consider
Lita pick up on it sooner? I gotta be honest with that, because she's supposedly this big mega telepath now because of all the enhancements.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if maybe that's why Bester did offer her that job, so she wouldn't be thinking about that. She'd just be thinking, "Oh, I'm wrapped up in Psychor junk again."
That is a possibility. But here's the other side of that. With Garibaldi's mindset of opposing authority figures, did that part of his personality always there, just a little more subdued, and he just kind of ignored it because he did trust Sheridan? Or was there a part of him that always mistrusted Sheridan because he had been brought in by Sinclair and to work there on Babylon 5 as the head of security? And there was always that bit of mistrust on Mr. Garibaldi's part.
There was always that bit of mistrust on Mr. Garibaldi's part, because remember when Sheridan first came in, he started off as Captain Happy. They literally called him Captain Happy. So it's sort of, and the mistrust, something just not sitting right with Garibaldi. At least that was my interpretation. And throughout you saw examples of how he he was sort of conflicted because again, he's always had loyalty to Sinclair. And then, the new guy just comes in out of the blue and everybody's just supposed to be like, okay, yeah, we got to trust this guy. So, yeah.
Well, Sinclair also had a different relationship. He helped pick Garibaldi up out of the gutter, basically.
Out of the gutter, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is true. Well, I always found it interesting, the whole relationship, and we can get into this a little bit now, because by the time we get to the end of season 4, it does seem like the rift that did exist between Sheridan and Garibaldi has pretty much been mended for the most part, because at least, well, when they get back to when Delenn and Sheridan get back to Babylon 5, and they have that big welcoming party for them. And Sheridan's not quite as hostile. I mean, he's jovially hostile towards both Franklin and Garibaldi, but it almost feels like Sheridan has gone like, yeah, you got your head messed with the Psi Corps, and he's like, I can kind of understand how that feels. But here, no one trusts Garibaldi, and it does take Lita quite literally forcing her way through all those blocks. And then not only does she do that, she also shows number two, I think number one, or yeah, number
It
one.
was number 2. It was the aide to who eventually becomes the black blonde haired lady. Eventually becomes Garibaldi's like chief of security or something like
Yeah,
that.
for Eggers,
From what I remember.
Eggers Industries.
Yeah.
And it quite literally takes Lita like, okay, you don't believe him? Would you like to see inside his head and see inside mine? And I always wondered, did Lita hold back just a little bit because she didn't want to break the woman's brain? Because I got the distinct impression that she was holding back because she's like, I'm telling you, he's clean, and they don't want to listen. So she's like, okay, fine. You want to be you want to be you want to be an ass about this? Okay, have a peek inside his brain and mine, and have some nightmare fuel for the next 20 years. And I can't say I necessarily blame her. Lita, that is.
Oh yeah, considering she was used as the Mr. Fix-It for a lot of B5's problems. Oh boy. Lita pulled many people out of the fire quite a few times, which makes her ultimate fate a bit more sad later on, like it was alluded to. But it's just like, Crusade could only do so much. Freaking
Yeah,
TNT.
unfortunately.
So I think
Elysium.
So was it Lita was due to come back on Crusade, but from what I'm told, they had her being killed off in the episode in a stupid way, and the actress herself, did not want that, so she refused to take part in the series.
Yeah, because the way I hear it, it's like, yeah, she was with Lanier on some super secret mission to help during the Telepath Civil War, and did not turn out well for them. But they were able to take out a lot of people in the interim. I think that's a more interesting way to go out than like, oh, we're killed off in the side series. I see.
Right. Well, I mean, I think they should have used her in the linear in the series in the series that they did later on after Crusade. Legend of the Rangers. I think they should have had her.
Lost Tales?
Well, no, they had Legends of the Rangers, which was also it only went for one. It only went for one episode. They showed They gave us a pilot, and that was it. It was called. Where is it? I have it here somewhere. Trying to get.
Well, I think it was called Legend of the Rangers, and it was only one episode.
Yeah.
So. But yeah.
But I feel like there was potential there where they could have expounded upon that if they really wanted to. But
oh yeah, because this whole episode will lead to a bit more fallout for various things. Yeah. Some good, some bad, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Because go ahead, Elysium.
No, I kind of felt that in this episode himself, Garibaldi played the drowning man really well. He was grasping for anything to help him. Suddenly released from the paranoia. I think we're mentioning that was always there, especially going back to season 2 where he was shot in the back. So he'll never fully trust anyone because he let people in so close before. And now he's just wanting to realize what he's done. And he's like Cassandra, shouting and no one believes him.
Yeah, Cassandra from The Fall of Troy. I know that character, know it well.
And
Um,
I thought it was adorable the way Londo got that vote together without Delin
Yes.
knowing, because they wanted to prove that yes, we can show you that we can all work together without you being adding in the moral support of one way or another.
well, yeah, well, that right there, that's just a further building block for what will eventually be known as the Interstellar Alliance, which will be we'll see a formal announcement for in Rising Star, and but yet the interesting thing with that is again we see Londo and Jakar working side by side when just at the beginning of the season, essentially. Well, at least, and all right, fine, remove it.
Well, they had reasons to be very cross with each other, or at least Jakar definitely had reasons. Ooh.
Right, yeah, and at this point, they're at least civil to one another because you remember that very powerful line that Jakar says to Londo: "My world is now free. You no longer exist in my universe. Pray we never notice each other again." And here, towards the end of season 4, we see them working side by side to help support Sheridan's faction in the Earth Force Civil War. And they pull together the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, and they say, we're going to do this vote. We're going to do it without Delin, so she has deniability, but also to show that we can work together. And even Veer says it himself. Politically and morality going hand in hand, that doesn't happen every day. It's true. It doesn't happen every day. When a political stance and an ethical or moral stance can link up in a way like this, like we see here, when you see a dozen or so more worlds that have for the majority of their history had nothing but mistrust and paranoia between themselves, and now they pull themselves together to support Sheridan and to support the crew of Babylon 5. It's truly something extraordinary to see. And I still have just enough optimism left in me to believe that maybe someday we may see something similar in real life. So,
I'm going to be
but
really bad
that's
to say that's why I watch superversive stuff. Yeah. Let's uplift humanity, people. Whee!
you geek.
That is my whole modus operandi in life. If I don't enjoy a certain direction, I will try to find other writers and people doing things in directions I enjoy.
Elysium.
Had to be said.
Oh, Lord.
I just thought of that kind of when we were mentioning why hadn't Lita spotted it with Garibaldi. Zach had tried to get her to do that previous, and she refused. She
Yeah.
said that's completely against it. So I said, yeah, Zach, didn't he mention something about the Egyptian god of frustration? And that's why when Jakar went looking for Garibaldi. And I think that's what brought Londo and Jakar together, because they were so had animosity towards each other. And I felt it was a very big leap for them to become on such good terms so quickly. But Sheridan going missing and drawing all of them together, I think that could be the very kick up the arse to both of them that they needed to bridge that gap.
That's true. Well, here's the other thing. It harkens back to something that the older gentleman said when Sheridan goes to Zahadum. You are a nexus. You are a point around which others gather or gravitate. You go one way and everybody else goes that same direction. So I think you do see this in terms of the early foundations for the Interstellar Alliance, and the fact that the League of Non-Aligned Worlds has decided that they're going to throw in their support, non-militarily per se, but offering humanitarian aid and other forms of support to Sheridan's group, to the forces of Earth Force that want to see Clark removed from office. And the fact that they do all this and they keep dealing out, and she's like, if somebody doesn't explain what the hell's going on, I'm going to get very annoyed. And when they finally explain it, she gets it.
It's like, oh, okay. I'm no longer so angry. Thank you, Londo.
Yeah.
Which makes her hugging him later in season 5 all that more tragic. Oh my goodness. Because the Drock consider themselves little kingmakers. Like how Galen said Sheridan's a focal point. Well, the Drock think they can create focal points. Oh my.
Well, and the other interesting part about this episode, we see Ivanova and the rest of their forces in a fight against a group of Earth Force destroyers. And the destroyers just don't want to give up. And they bring one of the commanders in, and he's like, yeah, not everybody that defects necessarily defects. And he's like, there's something out there that you're not going to be able to handle. And the crazy thing is, Ivanova has to talk one of the Earth Force captains. I actually think it's the captain of the Agamemnon out of going along with the White Stars to take on those advanced destroyers.
Yeah, because they need a show of force so that enough regular Earth personnel are going against various mandates. So they can't risk their Earth Alliance ship buddies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not to mention a regular Earth Force destroyer against one of those advanced destroyers, they wouldn't have stood much of a chance. Honestly, she says it perfectly. The White Stars are the most advanced ships we have. This is our best chance. They are our best chance of taking out these advanced ships and keeping you all safe. And for a soldier to let a fellow soldier go off against a unknown opponent, that's a hard pill to swallow. But they all know how capable Ivanova is, especially with Marcus by her side, and seeing what the White Stars can do.
And in one way, those Earth Force ships did not have the weakness of the Shadow vessels. They didn't have the living CPUs, so they couldn't be manipulated by a telepath. So in some ways more dangerous.
That is true. I mean, they were essentially they were a hybrid, much like the way the White Stars are a hybrid of Vorlon and Minbari technology. Those advanced Earth Force destroyers are a hybrid of Shadow Tech and Earth Force technology. And of course, I
still think they would have caused different kinds of problems, which some of the other books which aren't considered canon, but I can still see it coming up, where the Shadow Tech would invade other spaces in the ship and like try to do naughty things. I totally foresee that going into bad juju territory.
Potentially. Well, and of course, you've got Ivanova's very iconic quote. And, Elysium, as I promised, this part is yours. So if you would like to share with the rest of the class.
Yes, though, being I may read it better, I'll do my best. Susan Ivanova comes in and, who am I? I am Susan Ivanova, commander, daughter of Andrei and Sophie Ivanov. I am the right hand of vengeance and the boot that is going to kick your sorry ass all the way back to Earth, sweetheart. I am death incarnate and the last living thing you're ever going to see. God sent me. She's terrifying.
She's almost as terrifying as Delenn was in the episode Shattered. What was it?
Severed Dreams, I think.
Severed Dreams. Yeah, very much so. Because, well, you gotta say it. Straczynski, he gives everybody a really good quote, or several good quotes throughout this series, and I think he has shows a little more love to the ladies in terms of Ivanova and Delenn. So, and to the chat, Archer, good, or Colin, it is good to see you, man. I'll bring up his comment here.
I would say on the guy end of things, Jakar and Londo probably get the most quotable stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
Makes one wonder if the White Star shadow components felt the shadow parts of the Air Force ships. Well, if it is true what they say that the Vorlons and shadow ships were based on organic technology, then very potentially so. Well, Zon, you've been a little quiet this episode. Your thoughts on anything we brought up this morning?
Not really. I mean, you guys are pretty much nailing it. I'm on board with everything you guys are saying. I mean, it just makes sense. As far as all of the stuff like what you just said right now about the best lines going to a lot of the female cast members. I agree, but I feel like it's necessary. And I also agree with Elysium that Ivanova is terrifying. So there you go.
And she'll be even more terrifying next episode. And
Exactly.
poor Dr. Franklin. At least he gets a laugh out of her, but it's just like, there's a reason why I write. I want to give people happier endings. Oh my God. Just because she's Russian doesn't mean she should get a really... Oh, no.
Well, I think we've all been in a similar position as Mr. Marcus Cole. Because there was someone out there that we had a big, big crush on. And unfortunately, either they never noticed or we just never had the guts to speak up. So
no,
I think
what's worse. Ivanova did notice, but didn't act on it because she's been bear poked too much with past lives and relationships.
Yeah.
He knew.
Remember the scumbag earlier in the season in the series.
yeah.
Who was he with? He wasn't with Night Watch. He was with
Home Guard
or some shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Home Guard.
Uh-huh.
Real upstanding guys, those fellas. Yeah. Scumbags.
Yeah.
Actually,
really.
scumbag will be a step up.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, they'd have to dig up to reach the sewer. Sorry.
No, Elysium, you're not wrong. Well, and I can understand where she's coming from, and we can go ahead and touch on this now and everything. I don't have a problem with that, honestly, because Ivanova has been burnt. She has been hurt. And when you get hurt so many times, you close yourself off. But unfortunately, you close yourself off. When you close yourself off the way she does, you close yourself off to potentially having someone in your life who really cares about you, really sincerely, deeply loves you. And as Colin says, I could have boffed him at least once. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, it is something that will haunt her the rest of her life. I talked about it when I did my video on Susan Ivanova way back when. And I think honestly is we don't see this till season 5, but I think she realized that she did love Marcus, and she took up the mantle of leadership with the Rangers. That's how she respected, and she did respect Sheridan so much. Well, not to mention also Sheridan or Sinclair as well.
Yeah.
But because I think deep down she loved Marcus. And when you have 3 people in your life that mean as much to you as Sheridan and Sinclair and Marcus did, she devoted herself to the ideals of the Rangers. And that's why in Deconstruction of Falling Stars, the young monk, for heaven's sakes, can't remember his name off the top of my head. When he refers to refers to her as Ivanova the Strong.
Ivanova the Strong, yeah.
Yeah, she's
Brother Michael. I think was his
Brother
name.
Michael. Yeah, Brother Michael. Yeah, Alicia, I don't know what's going on, if it's on my end or if it's on your end, but sorry.
No,
It's
my
just a little
internet's
bit.
rubbish.
It's going in
you're roboting
for about 30 seconds, and then it goes away. But
it could be we got some weather moving in on my end too. I don't know.
Probably the one that passed by
it's
my
sunspots. It's sunspots.
I'm sorry if anybody's listening to this and I am roboting. I do apologize. It's not something I can really do a whole lot about, unfortunately. So, but yeah, you know,
I do find it interesting near the end of the episode. Marcus comments like, "I made it nice and flat, just the way she likes it," and then
Yes.
Ivanova asks Sheridan to take command of the Agamemnon and then go like bring the whole show home. But to get there, I found it interesting that they used Garibaldi's, Benedict Arnold status to basically get in to rescue Sheridan. So in a roundabout way, even though he caused it via Bester, he is able to clear it up via himself.
Yeah, that whole. I will say considering the direness of the situation, Straczynski is able to throw just a touch of humor in to that whole scene with Franklin and Garibaldi and Lita, and she's like, wait a minute, I'm a good liar? I don't know how I feel about this.
And then there's the fact that Lita is technically with the Psychorgan, so she was able to pull off the proper clearance too, and it's just like, oh wow, it was like all these errors meeting together to actually save Sheridan, and Sheridan's like, they do like the hazy cam on him when he's staring at Garibaldi, and it's like, I hate you for some reason.
He's like, I remember I was gonna punch you for something, but I can't remember what now.
It's like, oh man, Sheridan and the really big bender right there.
I mean, at least Sheridan didn't want to nuke anything at that point. I mean,
that's true.
Could have been worse.
But he must
the guard.
Now that I think about it, when I look at Sheridan's face, based on the beard growth, he must have been in there for a couple. How fast do guys' beards grow? Is it like at least 2 weeks worth of growth on that beard?
A good week or two. If you don't do anything to it and you just let it grow, yeah.
Because based on how spacey is what he was, I wonder if he went through like at least 3 versions of like, oh, they're sending you out to die. Oh wait, it's another interrogator. Because it took him a while to get him down to the point where it's like, wait, which way is up? But I'm still not telling you a thing, not Franklin. You're not acting normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And Beer 31, good evening to you as well. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Well, and the interesting thing with that whole mission to save Sheridan is like, they're like, Mars Resistance, we need you right now. And they're like, no, we've got our own crap going on, so you're gonna have to do this on your own with one guard. Oh, and fun fact for those of you who might not know, or well, you may not even care, the actress who plays that Resistance leader, member of the Mars Resistance, well, she was in a very bad movie from, I think it was like the late 90s or the early 2000s, a little film called Mortal Kombat Annihilation. She played Queen Sindel.
I vaguely remember that, but
She
I haven't.
she actually looked really good as Queen Sindel. It's unfortunate that the script was not a better.
But I have
She
yet
did
to
look-
get through all the bad movies.
I can't, for me at this point, I mean, I will. I'm eventually. I may check out some of the other Mortal Kombat films, but for me, there is only one. Well, it's kind of like with the Highlander films. There can be only one. There's only one proper, true.
You're not
live action.
wrong. You're not wrong. The one from 1995. You're not wrong.
That
is me, that's the definitive live action Mortal Kombat. Period.
Yes.
But I will say this though, Ambassador, if you're a big Mortal Kombat fan, the 2 animated films that have come out since are fantastic. So if you
I may check those out eventually because I do love anime. I do love animated films. Here's the thing: if this reboot, you hush, Fiona. If this reboot goes well with B5, I wouldn't be opposed to them. Maybe if Straczynski's willing to do it, maybe them doing some animated features in the B5 universe. I think that'd actually be kind of cool. Honestly.
I was kind of hoping that was the direction they would go, and then they would allow it to just continue on and tell stories that he was unable to tell due to so many of the principal cast members passing away. I honestly it would be really nice to see them kind of do that. And I mean, you could do voice actors, you can get sound alikes, you can really tell all the stories you want to tell, and with animation. So I never could understand why he didn't opt for that route, but I kind of get the suspicion that it wasn't his choice, that the studio was going to reboot it with or without him, like we had touched on before. So it's one of those things that, if you want to be involved, at least kind of make sure that they do it the right way.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing: if they do decide, if the reboot does do well, and I think it will, I'm unlike our fellow council member to my left, your right. I have a little more faith in Mr. Straczynski and the people working with him.
But see, it's not him though. It's not him. That's the problem. The problem is the studio. That's the issue.
I get that. But here's the thing: if they do, now here would be my dream. If they were going to do some animated films or animated features, do stuff maybe set in the first one's era.
That, or adapt some of these great novels that were released.
Yeah, that too.
Jesus, they've got so many wonderful Babylon 5 novels that they could see. Yeah. And I could almost see them doing, there's a company out there, if you're a Doctor Who fan, then you should be aware of this audio company out in England called Big Finish that has been adapting and has been doing Doctor Who stories for decades with the original actors who played all the Doctors. They've literally brought back every actor who's ever played the Doctor that's alive up to this point to come and to continue their stories in like audio adventures and stuff. And I've kind of looked at Babylon 5 would be a perfect franchise for that as well. You could tell a whole bunch of stories in that way, and you could bring all the surviving cast members back and have tell little stories within the universe or big stories, whatever you want to do. And I think they would sell tremendously. So to me, it's, I don't know, there's so many directions that he could take Babylon 5 if he wanted to do it, if he wanted to continue the original timeline.
Yeah.
I
Well, go ahead, Elysium.
I'm actually working on a video at the moment where that original timeline and the reboot, whatever it is still set within the same universe. And that we mentioned the episode Deconstruction of Falling Stars, that all of those stories are on Brother Alwyn's shelf. The reboot as one group of people writing a history, and Brother Alwyn is reading through those stories and trying to discern the truth. And the
Wow.
truth is, the final guy at 1 million years who finds all those stories told, the reboot universe or the old universe, doesn't matter. We have the real thing. And that's the
So
video I'm
so
working
it's
at the
like
moment.
so it's like the it's like that old, the multiple, like the multiverse theory where the stories continue, the stories are, or better still, a more simplified theory would be somebody tells you the story, and then you tell the story to somebody else,
Yep.
and it changes a little bit with each person that tells you the story, and that's essentially how you get the reboot.
Now, imagine how if, let's say, even Clark's people descended down the line, they could still be good people, but the stories their parents told them would put Sheridan in a very bad light.
Yeah,
So their books
exactly.
they write and the stories they tell, when it comes to Brother Alwyn, the book he picks up, it'll be a very negative and tell a different story. Just like the guy rewriting history 500 years before who caused the burn. The story he puts in Brother Alwyn's hands will be very, very different. What if that rejigging that he did, that story, got out, and to some people, that was the real history, and there the books stay passed down. So whatever you do, whatever, and that's why I think old fans and new fans could fit within the same universe without coming in conflict with each other, because you're just reading one side of that story, and if that's the history you want to believe, that's fine, because that's the history that comes to you.
Yeah.
And both fans can have respect,
Yeah.
like and dislike, old and new, or like both, which I
Real
hope.
quick though, I did link that one thing. It's a Russian site, but all the links are good. It's all the old
Books.
tabletop books and everything else.
Mhm.
I've been recently watching some old Stargate stuff again. And I'm surprised that they don't re-release a lot of these stuff as ebooks, because Stargate has like something like 30 or 40 books that people can read at whatever point, and they try to tie it into the TV series. So, but that's there in case people want to catch up on some little bit of side stuff for Babylon 5.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Fiona. Appreciate it. Well, here's the one thing. If they did decide to do, if JMS decided to work with this big Finnish company and they decided to do some animated stories or animated features, the one I would really love to see is the Telepath War. I would love to see that fully fleshed out. I would love to see how all that went. I would love to see Lita's final fate. I would love to see Bester's final fate. Obviously, Mr. Garibaldi. See what happens to the Psychor itself, and sees what happens in the aftermath. And I'll bring up Colin's comment here. I would think that Alwyn, being a ranger, would have access to the actual records as well as being interesting way of dealing with it. Yeah. So, and of course, we'll get to that episode here in a few weeks and everything, because we're with this episode we're inching ever closer to the end of season 4. So,
At
but
FTL speeds. Zoop!
yeah.
Because they really had to they shoved 2 seasons worth of stuff into this one season. They really did.
Yeah. And the thing that it kills me that we never get to see the Drak War fully. We never get to see the Telepath War fully. We get a little bit of it in season 5. We get those TV movies. Unfortunately, those TV movies primarily focus on the Drak War, not so much the Telepath War. And then we get a very truncated. We get one season of Crusade, and that's it.
One season. Yeah.
I think
Baywatch in space. Okay, never mind.
But no, I
And
think what
honestly-
was it? Only like 18 episodes, I think. I don't even think it was a full traditional season.
I honestly don't remember. I mean, I will be candid with you both, with all of you. I never watched Crusade. It wasn't because I wasn't interested. It was because at the time we couldn't afford to have cable, so I just never got the opportunity to watch it. Kind of
Then they put it out of order though too. They displayed those episodes out of order, so I was confused.
There's a correct order to watch Crusade.
Yeah, and because I was looking at it, it's like, wait, why did the uniforms change? Wait, why is Galen doing this right now? Didn't they already? Well, oh God, TNT. Oh God.
Yeah. So
And nice touch in Crusade. There was one villain who's kind of flipped over to not quite good guy, but not an evil guy from Crusade.
well, guys, I'm going to open the floor for final thoughts from this episode, and then we'll probably go and wrap up for the afternoon. So, floor is yours.
Let's see. Final thoughts. The league actually did something on their own without being prompted too much. Yay on progress! Because unlike Sheridan's whole scheme to get them to band together out of paranoia, these guys actually came together this time out of a sense of duty. Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. I agree.
This is my thoughts on the episode where we had the human Shadow and Vorlon Mambari ships facing off. That humans and Mambari are the new Shadow and Vorlon of this universe, of the younger races. However, they are the Shadow and Vorlon as they should have been. They'll work within the Interstellar Alliance to do the shepherding of the younger races, which I thought could be a nice touch, even though at the moment they're in conflict.
Yeah.
Oh, and I do like the fact that Sheridan just goes all like, "Give me that PPG."
Yeah,
Oh.
so not nuke them, but definitely not any less trigger happy.
Oh man, that and one other side note is I did enjoy Delenn and Sheridan's short-lived reunion. There, they said everything they needed to say in a few short little actions, and then
Yes.
boom, here comes the gut punch with Ivanova. Oh,
Yeah, Ivanova, she. Oh, Lordy. Such a killer. And shout out to chat. Good to see you, Nicotina. Thank you for popping by. We're just wrapping up our review of Between the Darkness and Light. I can't remember what episode number it is on season 4, but good to see you, man, and appreciate you stopping by. So, always a pleasure. So, and I will bring up Bureau's comment here, but are the humans the Vorlons or the Shadows?
For me, the Shadows.
I think honestly, once the humans advance enough, by incorporating all those questions, they become both the Shadows and the Vorlons and Lorien, because they incorporated everybody's stuff once they became a more highly advanced, accelerated.
The deconstruction of falling stars kind of gives that away, though, I think.
Yeah, but still, it's a nice tie-in, though. It shows that they learned from what the Shadows were doing wrong, what they learned from the Vorlons doing wrong. They probably found more Shadow and Vorlon surprises out there as they explored.
Right.
Because Lita did say that they left so many mistakes behind. And they incorporated all the questions in so that the younger races could ask themselves all those questions. I think it's a more uplifting way to showcase how the more advanced humans treat their younger races.
That's true. So, Zod, your final thoughts on the episode?
My final thoughts on the episode are, I feel like it was a compelling episode, but I'm looking forward to next week's chat.
Yeah, believe me. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, for me, yeah, this is a good episode, but we've got
Well, this was at 19.
Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, 19. We've got Endgame coming up next week. We've got Rising Star, and then of course we have Deconstruction. So those are going to be 3 really fun discussions right there. So, I do want to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon or this evening, depending on, like I said, what part of the world you're listening to us in.
Yes.
And make sure you leave your comments down below with anything that we brought up today or anything that we might have missed. Do want to let y'all be back tomorrow evening with another ambassadorial review, and I'll be giving y'all my thoughts on episodes 1 and 2 of the new Marvel series, Hawkeye. And want to thank you all for your support as always, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Hope you all had a very peaceful and a very blessed Thanksgiving, and we look forward to these streams. We look forward to seeing you all in the chat every week, and we'll see you next week. So, and here's Sodrider. So, oops.
It's okay.
Okay.
The internet decided to rebel against everyone at the last second.
That's
Apple
right.
pie and ice cream always go awesome. Yeah, Thanksgiving.
Doesn't it always? So, anyways, folks, you all have a great week and a great weekend, and we will see you all next week. And until next week, this is a Council of One saying 3, 2, 1. Zooty.
Zoot. Oh,
I always love that timing.
Zoot.
Yes, best timing.
Sooty.
No, Suti, you cannot go. No.
Oh, Lord. Good night, everybody.